Well, the Coalition and Greens are preparing raids on Australian Labor Party seats in a bid targeting disaffected Labor voters, seizing on the growing Green war engulfing the party room under Anthony Albanese's leadership. The seats being chased down by the Coalition include those in New South Wales' Hunter Valley and on the Central Coast, where Labor suffered major swings at last year's election. Joel Fitzgibbon, the Labor frontbencher and member for Hunter, joins me now from Cessnock in New South Wales. Joel Fitzgibbon, I have to say you're one of only a handful of Labor MPs who both live in their electorates and live in regional Australia. You've said hardline positions on climate change and energy risk making Labor unelectable. There's many reports today confirming you've got a bit of a war going on from the left and the right flanks here. Are your colleagues listening? Is your leader listening?
Well, I relish the fight ahead, Peter. I enjoy combat at the political level, and if people want to come after our seats in the regions, well, let them do so. They'll get a very, very aggressive and solid response from people like me. I live and work the regions, and my job within the Labor Party is to make sure our suite of policies, as best as I can, reflect the views and aspirations of people who live in the regions, and that is typically, while we are also very diverse, it's typically sticking up for those blue-collar workers who we were formed to represent, and I'll certainly continue to do that. And I'll call out both the national parties and One Nation, who on the industrial relations front have very much let down our blue-collar workers, and in particular our coal miners.
Just on the issue of coal miners, I know today there's been more job losses. Peabody in your area, they've cut their workforce in the underground mines. It comes on the back of other job losses in the region. I know you're a huge advocate for miners in your area, but it seems from where I sit, and I think many viewers sit, that modern Labor is almost embarrassed about blue-collar workers today, that it's dominated by the inner-city obsessions of those that run the party machine as opposed to those who used to be your broad brush of members. Is that fair? And why has it that Labor's lost its way?
Well, Peter, we are the biggest political party in the country, and we almost always hold more seats in the House of Representatives than any other party. That is the chamber in which government is formed. Our problem, of course, is that the Liberal Party entered into this coalition and form a government from effectively minority. So it also makes us the most diverse party in the country. We represent both inner city seats, for example, and seats in regional Australia. So we strive to get that balance right between the interest of those who live and work in our city electorates and those who live in the regions. And that's not always an easy balance, and it causes challenges within the party. But we've got a strong history of getting that balance right, of dealing with any internal conflicts internally, most of the time at least, and I'm very confident we'll do that again at the next election.
Look, you're right to make the point about the lower house. You are correct to say there's generally more Labor-held seats in the lower house than the Liberals, than the Nationals, but the Coalition will beat you out in government. Your problem, though, I have to say, is in the upper house, because invariably you act as if you're a coalition in the upper house, and I think that's where some of the bastardisation of Labor policy making and Labor's worker history occurs, because too often things are put through a policy prism of what would be acceptable to the Greens in the Senate. Is there a battle going on inside the Labor Party for the Labor Party traditional, true believer types like yourself to get the party back under control, particularly given the result of the last election?
I spoke about the diversity within the party, so obviously there are going to be a whole range of views within the parliamentary party. And my job, along with my senior colleagues, is to ensure that we arrive at settled positions which can serve a very, very broad constituency. And that's always my goal. Of course, my job is to make sure that working class base is well represented in that internal debate, that the regions are well represented, and we're not unnecessarily foregoing the interest of the regions in the quest to satisfy some other political party or some other group of people. We have to get that balance right.
Okay, well, I'm going to ask you how you do that, because you've been out there pretty strongly on the issue of gas and pipelines. Bill Shorten has come out to support you, but your leader, Anthony Albanese, is giving you a bit of a rebuke over comments in relation to gas. Narrabri, you support Narrabri. You want to see Acland, the coal expansion in Acland in Queensland, go ahead. There seems to be a fundamental policy difference between key front benchers like you and Bill Shorten and others and your leader. So how do you resolve that?
I believe the starting point for the Labor Party always is to remember the reason we were formed, the basis on which we were built, and of course all those people working in coal mining, for example, who are enjoying pretty good working conditions over the years, are enjoying those conditions because of the work of the Labor Party. And if we want to be a truly Labor Party, I often say I'm keen to put Labor back into the Labor Party, then we have to continue to represent their interest. Now, of course, it's not just blue-collar workers. We are also now a far more diverse economy, and we need to also represent those lower-paid workers working in the services sector, for example. So, again, the foundation for everything we do is to ensure we promote equality of opportunity, to remember where we come from, and to make sure we keep industries like the manufacturing sector, the oil and gas sector, the coal mining industry strong, because they are the major employers in our regional electorate.
Well, talk to me about how you improve some of these policies. As I said, you've been outspoken on a number of energy and climate policies. We know because of COVID, the party's national conference was due at the end of the year. It's been pushed into next year. The clock's clicking down on the policies that you will take to the next election. Of course, everything that's on the table now are the policies that were rejected in last May's election. So how do you make those policy changes? How do you make Labor more relevant, given that you are constrained by the platform being a binding set of policies that must be changed again at these meetings of the conference? Otherwise, you're stuck with what you took forward last May.
Peter, the policies we take to an election are formulated by the Parliamentary Labor Party and initiated by shadow cabinet members like me. Of course, the national platform is our guide. Our goal, of course, is to create policy, develop policy within the framework set by the principles in that national platform. Now, I've not been in a situation, quite frankly, before where we've had to defer our national conference and even face the prospect of not having one before the next election. I suggest the way to respond to that is to energise more actively our engagement with affiliates in other parts of the party to ensure that we're taking them on the journey with us.
Well, in the battle between the left and the right of the Labor Party on the issues of energy and climate change, I hope you win and not the other side. Joel Fitzgibbon, thank you for your time.
A pleasure, Peter.